How are you doing, guys? Welcome back to Combat Kenya. My name is Ken Beda. This past weekend, the world witnessed a spectacle of skill and brutality that no other word other than violent can begin to do justice. We saw Alex Pereira, UFC light heavyweight champion, defend his belt against Khalil Roundtree, the number 8 ranked fighter in that division, and he did so in spectacular fashion. The term beautiful violence is thrown around loosely in mixed martial arts media, but I think this fight transcends any elements of beauty and takes us straight into the world of clear-cut brutality. This fight felt as though I was watching a car crash. I couldn't look away, yet the sight was almost too brutal to keep watching. Which brings me to a sentiment I've seen a lot ever since I started posting these mixed martial arts videos, with the context of getting a Kenyan fighter into the UFC. And that sentiment being, we might never get a Kenyan into the UFC because no Kenyan can fight the way Alex Pereira did this past weekend. So in this video, we're going to explore this topic. Why doesn't Kenya have a UFC fighter yet? The comment section on one of my recent videos reviews some of the most obvious reasons for why Kenya is behind on its endeavor in mixed martial arts. So we'll quickly review them before we take a deep dive into other reasons that influence our lack of mixed martial artists in our country. BMJ says, to be honest, in Kenya we don't have legit gyms that train legit mixed martial arts unless boxing. This might have been true a couple of years ago, but if you watch the videos in my channel, you'll see some of the best MMA gyms in Kenya. So I say check our videos to find out MMA gyms in Kenya. And Muay Thai Gladiators chimes in saying, I feel you, man. It's not just about the gyms being there, it's the harsh reality that many fighters in Kenya have to deal with. It's tough when fighters can't afford proper training. Even though the facilities are available, they often have to put basic needs like food and rent first, which makes it hard to balance work, life, and training. In places like the USA, Brazil, Thailand, etc., fighters can actually make a living from it, focusing solely on their training and fighting while getting paid well. Here in Kenya, it's a grind. Fighters are juggling work alongside their training, and the pay just isn't enough. We really need more sponsorships and big promotions to push us towards our goals. It's challenging when the support and opportunities aren't as accessible here. We just keep on pushing, stay focused on our goals, hoping things get better for fighters like us. Foreigner also chimes in saying, none has the potential, not even for PFL or one. Well, as pessimistic as Foreigner sounds, I'd hate to prove him wrong because we do have a Kenyan fighter in one championship by the name of Percy No Mercy, who I talked about in my last video. Although he lost his first fight, he got the fight on short notice, which gives him a credible excuse, and I'm eager to see where his career goes in one championship. But Muay Thai Gladiators chimes in here as well, saying, hey, Kenya's got some serious talent when it comes to fighters, no doubt about that. We're not just good, we're top notch, ready to take on the big leagues like one championship and UFC. Last year, I snagged a silver medal in Italy. So when you say Kenya lacks top fighters, you better do your research because we're here, we're ready, and we're the best. Watch out, world. Kenya is coming for the top spot. I agree with Muay Thai Gladiators because I have trained in many Kenyan gyms and I can say that we do have world-class fighters here. It's just that they have a lack of opportunity. But let's go into the deeper reasons why we don't have a Kenyan fighter in the UFC yet. So what is Kenya's history with martial arts? Unlike some Western African or Southern African countries, Kenya doesn't have a distinct martial arts history. In fact, one will be hard-pressed to find any evidence of martial arts in our history other than tribal raids or tribal disputes and the conflicts that happened as a result of those two conditions. However, when we go to Western African countries, we see ancient versions of indigenous martial arts like Dambe. We can also see similar accounts in Southern Africa. So most of our martial arts legacy in Kenya is derived from martial arts movies from the 60s, 70s, and 80s, which were primarily inspired by ancient Chinese martial arts, inspiring stars like the late Bruce Lee, Chuck Norris, Van Damme, etc. These movies paved the way for Taekwondo and Karate to be the most dominant martial arts practiced in Kenya from the 80s, 90s, all the way to this day. However, if we look at global trends in martial arts, we see that these ancient Chinese martial arts are slowly being phased out for more effective mixed martial arts techniques and skill sets. That's why we have characters like Xu Xiaodong, who is a Chinese MMA practitioner who has taken it upon himself to expose these impractical ancient Chinese martial arts for what they truly are. Ineffective. So if your self-defense arsenal or armory is heavily dependent on ancient Chinese or Japanese martial arts that are singular, you're gonna have a bad time in any mixed martial arts fight. This is true across the whole world. That's why we saw the quick growth of the UFC as the Gracie family, who pioneered Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, showed how effective grappling martial arts really are in real-life fights. Another topic that is compromising the growth of martial arts in our country is a lack of strong identity, which then leads to a lack of strong moral principles. Most people who are born after the boomer generation have no real connection to their ancestral history. We are severely untethered for the customs that were put in place by our ancestors. This piles on the poor economic status that we are relegated to as Africans, who are a product of the colonial system. If you compare Kenya to, say, Dagestan, Russia, where majority of their culture and history is dominated by fighting wars and surviving hardships as a society, you can quickly see why the Dagestani wave has taken over the mixed martial arts world. Dagestan has a war-ready culture where entire towns and cities are powered by martial arts gyms, the same way that entire towns and cities are powered by universities in, say, America. This has led to a flood of Dagestani MMA champions throughout the last decade. The natural intensity that is derived from this hard Dagestani way of life easily translates into the MMA world. And one could say this is a natural intensity that Kenya lacks in general, given how we handle our hardships and challenges as a nation. But if we put on our optimistic hat for a second and look at this situation objectively, we can see that mixed martial arts is a generally new sport in the world. I mean, Jiu-Jitsu existed for centuries before it was popularized in the 90s thanks to the Gracie family and the UFC, only for it to quickly become the fastest growing martial arts and sport in the entire world. We can see the evidence of this by the number of billionaires who live their comfortable lifestyles to find out who they really are under the sweaty bodies of their Jiu-Jitsu sparring partners. Grappling sports are essential for mixed martial arts, though they are somewhat boring to watch for the casual MMA fan. This also translates to very low rewards for the athletes who dedicate their bodies and their lives to training these martial arts. But the recent advent of events like the Craig Jones Invitational, which happened this year and changed the game for all grappling combat sports, we can have a little hope for the future given the success of the CGI Invitation. And we're slowly seeing this hope trickle down into Kenya as we speak, with the advent of these new MMA gyms that I mentioned in my previous video, and also the advent of new grappling tournaments courtesy of the Jiu-Jitsu Potluck League and Combat Brigade in Nairobi. We also have a brand new Jiu-Jitsu gym that just opened right after I made my video listing the martial arts gyms in Kenya, called Nairobi Jiu-Jitsu. So as bleak or dire as the situation might seem right now, the future actually looks really bright. And I personally think we're just a matter of years or months away from seeing the first Kenyan in the UFC. So thanks for watching and engaging with this video, guys. I would like to hear what your thoughts are on why Kenya isn't in the UFC yet in the comments. Like, subscribe so that we can engage and talk about the growth of the mixed martial arts industry here in Kenya. I hope you enjoyed the video. Until next time, peace.
Also, if you'd like to support Combat Kenya, we're selling these custom Jiu-Jitsu t-shirts at affordable prices with new designs coming out every month. Get yours today at take.app/Combat Kenya. Delivery available countrywide.